I didn't know you were going to bring a friend along with you, mate.
Yeah, we've always got the ghost of Frankie Hickman lurking around somewhere.
Hey, it's always good to catch up with you, Mike, and you're always busy. And I just noticed you out there looking on your phone at the next opponent for a man that you've had a lot to do with in RONGZHU.
Yeah, there's a couple of options that we're looking at. We're just waiting for that to be confirmed by the UFC, but hopefully we get him on in Shanghai, which is great. It's great to go back to China and sort of grow the sport in China. And RONGZHU, he needs to put another win together to make it back-to-back wins, and that'll start to just increase his legitimacy as a genuine, I think, a genuine top 10 prospect. He's gone a long way with the tools that he's had, and now's the time for him to start to step up. And we saw a hint of that in his last fight, but we need to string 2, 3, 4 wins together and start to make our way in that division, and that by no means is an easy division, so in the lightweights, so he's got plenty of work to do.
Talk a little bit more about some of the fighters, or one of the ones coming up with a lot of interest is Cam ROWSTON in the Contender Series.
Yeah, ROWSTON's got a tough American guy, but we watched a lot of tape on him. It's going to be an interesting fight. I don't think it'll be a technically pretty looking fight. And again, if you're in the Contender Series, you've got to go chasing a finish. And so after the Torres Finney fight, where you basically fought an extremely awkward style of fighter who didn't do much damage, but was very difficult to shake off. He was basically a bowling ball with super long arms, very difficult to shake off. So obviously Finney's gone on to go in the UFC. I think he won his first fight as well. So ROWSTON's strung together a couple of back-to-back wins, and he's looked really good. So again, I think he's ready to take that next big step up and hopefully get a finish.
Your views also on another couple of young fighters that are making the road to the UFC, Lawrence Louis and Aaron Toe?
Yeah, I think we've known with Toe, he's got a lot of explosive potential. Physically gifted, powerful athlete, hard to keep down. Got genuine one-punch knockout power. Just needs to add more refinement to his game. He's got Chinese guy Yun Shi Wei, who is a puncher wrestler, so that'll be a challenge for him. And it's a fight where he's going to need to be, very, very fit, because Yun Shi Wei does not stop. He keeps coming unless you put him out. And obviously they're both coming off knockout victories in the first round of that series. So, last chance saloon, I guess, for Toe, being a lighter fighter and slightly older. He really needs to make the most of it. Lawrence Louis, we saw in the last fight, his wrestling was on point. Perhaps surprising a few people that people at City Kickboxing know how to go wrestling. Obviously, that's a real strength to what he's got. And thanks, Frankie, and Andre Paulette, and Brogan Anderson. But yeah, and again, he's got a difficult guy. The thing is, you can win the first round, really promisingly, but the next tier is, it's progressively more and more difficult, as you'd expect. So another tough fight for him, where he's going to have to hone all areas of his game, because he's against a guy who's well-rounded. So Lawrence is a grinder, though. Lawrence is a guy who's constantly working on getting some improvement in his game. And I think he's looking good. Again, he's a guy who you underestimate at your peril, because he's always going to be there. He doesn't always look the prettiest, but he will absolutely get the job done. You can saw from his last fight where he got clipped early, by a dangerous puncher, that he has the grit to come back and turn a fight around, and that's really critical.
Izzy is in the gym this morning.
Yeah, is he? Yep. No, so Izzy's been in the gym. He's in good nick at the moment. So we just wait to see what goes on there. Obviously, at the stage in his career where he's at, you'll never get an easy fight for Israel Adesanya. So we'll just wait and see what happens there. Maybe by the end of the year we'll have something lined up. Don't want to wait too long, obviously. But I personally believe, given his vast potential for improving athletically based on some of the numbers that we've been doing, and where he was at, he's one of the few guys I would say who could successfully make a comeback, if he's dedicated in the way that he needs to be. It's just one of those things, as a fighter, you have to make a choice. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be Roy Jones? Do you want to be Andre Ward or Bernard Hopkins? So that's a commitment thing as an older fighter, that you kind of need to live like a monk, observe everyone else living like an idiot, and that's where you make those incremental gains at the top when you're older. And that's probably where he's at. It just needs to be full sacrifice, fully immersed in the priesthood, because that's the only way you can continue to operate at a really high level.
Nev, he's exciting. He's exciting everybody.
Yep, and he's got. We're looking at an opponent for him as well. Again, nothing announced yet. Hopefully we get him in Australia, in Perth, and that again, I mean, Nav just needs to keep on stepping up, progressively. He's a guy who's kind of learning on the job as well. Although he had kickboxing fights, he's learning on the MMA job, and performed pretty well so far. He could have got stoppages in his first two UFC fights with a little bit of a change, but you can also see him learning and progressing. The wrestling, for example, from his first fight to the second fight, there was a marked difference. You saw him getting knockdowns with his right hand in the late in the second fight. In the first fight, it was the left hook, and obviously in his Contender Series fight, it was a left hook stoppage. So you can see some of the danger that he offers. So Nav is a guy who's constantly working. He's constantly improving. He's still relatively young, particularly in the division that he's in. So I just expect him to keep getting better and better. And I think he's going to be one of those guys that all of a sudden will start blowing people out of the water. Once everything starts to click. And I still think he's filling in some of the spaces in his toolbox, if you like. He's still got a couple of things he needs to click, and then they can mesh together. But yep, he will have a tough one. He will have a very difficult fight next up.
And of course, Carlos, he's hasn't been fighting with full firepower. And is he back in full strength?
Yeah, he's working his way back. Obviously, probably his last three fights, he hasn't been 100%. In fact, I venture to say he's only been 75%. And so that's a mark of the talent of the guy, the pure athleticism that he has. So he's rightfully taking a little bit of time to rehab, get the body right, and it's pretty critical to do that, because now you're talking title contention. He's a guy who's inside the top five, and has already been mentioned by the current champion. Just last week, in fact. So we need to get it right, to get ourselves really in tune there, because you're looking at Prohaska maybe, you're looking at Pereira maybe, you're looking at Ankalaev, the champion maybe. So all of those guys have had or currently hold the title. So that's the company that Carlos ULBERG currently keeps. So, you know, it's only right we actually give him a chance to heal up, you know.
We'll go from the top to the starters, and you've seen it all and been in it all, but there's one thing that you just experienced for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and that was being a parent of a fighter.
Yeah, that was interesting. It's always easier setting out someone else's son than your own. Look, you know, that's as a part of the ALTA program, which obviously I head up over here, and it's a great example of being people from all walks being able to make that walk to the cage. You know, change elements of their life. Obviously, for my son, he's been an athlete in other sports, so it's easier for him. He's only 18. Certainly, you know, didn't win, which is a bit of a bummer, but that's sport. That's sport. You know, how do you come back? How do you challenge yourself? How do you get out of your comfort zone? How do you come back from a loss? And just entering into a cage or a ring, or even a wrestling mat, that's something that, you know, 0.1% of the population do. So just by being there, you're already a far greater man or woman than most other people will ever be. You know, that's a genuine facing down of fear and extending your boundaries. So, you know, that's the function of the ALTA program. Yeah. And yeah, obviously, old mate did all right. You know, dad. You know, your parents are always proud of what your kids do. So yeah, and his opponent did really well. Actually, I was looking at the fight and I was going, I wish I'd looked like that in my first fight. Like they look really sharp. You know, so you know, kudos to those guys and the people who've done it. Now I just got to get the other son on board.
Just while we're on that, because it is a growing thing here in New Zealand, all thanks for you too, with extra gyms coming on board. Can you just explain where people can go to get in, or how they can get involved?
In terms of ALTA, the entire 20-week program is based around someone coming in with zero experience, and allowing them to take the journey to the cage. And that is now in 9 gyms across the country. So you're talking Wellington, Palmerston North, 2 in Christchurch, several in Auckland, Hamilton, Tauranga. So we're really spreading it out. You can go to alta.com to find out the gym that's closest to you. The thing here is martial arts and putting yourself in a position that makes yourself vulnerable. You know, it can change people's lives, and that's the whole purpose of the Warrior program. You're in an environment where you can take a walk against the cage, but you're also going to be incredibly well matched in a very, very safe environment, you know, given what we're doing. And often you'll find yourself, it's you and your best mate training partner you're matched up with, and you both share this experience, and you're much greater for it. And, you know, again, that's something that 0.1% of the population can say that they've done. So for me, you know, there's no greater platform that you can just do something that makes you a little bit special, that takes you out of your comfort zone, that pulls you out of the depression, or changes your approach to business, or changes your approach to how you deal with stress in your life, because you're putting yourself under the ultimate primal stress, not just actually getting in the cage, but having the discipline to do something that's incredibly difficult for 20 weeks, you know, multiple sessions per week, early in the morning, and then you come out of that and you've achieved something that, you know, things in life like, you know, climbing the Himalayas, running a marathon, having an MMA fight, you know, I put those things in that kind of category. That there's something that only a certain breed of people can do, and we are trying to make that accessible and encourage other people to change their breed.
We'll put a link to it, and thanks once again, for your informed comments, mate.
And I'd like to thank Frankie Hickman. I think he did a great job in that interview. Frankie, thank you. You look great in tights. You're a great advertisement for Engage and Bang Tao. And I don't know why you've got a top knot now, mate.